Have you ever caught yourself saying, "I am poor," or "I am unworthy"? We speak those words as if they describe who we are. But what if they don't? What if the you who struggles, the you who doubts, and the you who suffers are only temporary roles in a much greater story? This is what Neville Goddard discovered, that you are not the temporary state you occupy. You are the eternal consciousness that moves through states. And once you understand this, the entire structure of your life begins to change. Let's explore what this really means. Every human being lives through a sequence of states: poverty, abundance, joy, grief, faith, fear. We move through them just as an actor moves through roles. But the actor is never the character. You are not the anger you once felt. You are not the failure you once experienced. You are not even the success you may one day achieve. All of those are states, conditions that consciousness temporarily occupies. Goddard compared these states to addresses in an infinite city. The city already contains every house imaginable, from palaces of wealth to prisons of despair. You, as consciousness, are the traveler who chooses where to live. When you say, "I am poor," you are claiming residence in the state of poverty. When you say, "I am abundant," you are moving your consciousness to another address entirely. But the traveler, the real you, is never defined by where you stay. The essence of transformation begins with this realization. You are not the state. You are the one who moves between states. So if you can move between states, what is the vehicle that allows you to travel? Neville called it the imagination, not imagination as daydreaming, but imagination as divine power, the creative force that shapes reality itself. Goddard identified this imagination with what the scriptures call Christ, not a historical figure, but the creative principle of God within each person. When you imagine with conviction, you are not wishing. You are creating. Every state already exists: wealth, health, peace, love, success, but they remain lifeless until you give them energy through imagination. It's like electricity waiting behind a switch. The moment you imagine with feeling, the current flows, and the state becomes alive in your experience. Goddard taught that prayer is not asking, it's assuming. It's the silent act of feeling yourself already in possession of what you desire. Imagine the difference between saying, "Please let me be healed," and "I am whole now." One asks from lack, the other lives from completion. The imagination that lives from completion is the very mind of God operating through you. Now that we understand that imagination is the power, how do we consciously change our state? It begins with awareness. You must first recognize which state you're currently in. If you feel fearful, anxious, or powerless, don't judge it. Simply acknowledge, I'm occupying the state of fear. Once you identify the state, you can decide to move. How? By assuming the feeling of the desired state until it feels natural. Neville often said, "Feeling is the secret." You cannot think your way into a new state. You must feel your way into it. If you desire abundance, imagine what it feels like to already have it. Not to wait for it, not to hope for it, but to be in it. Ask yourself, how would I walk? How would I breathe? What would I think if everything were already as I desired it to be? He suggested doing this especially before sleep, when the mind is quiet and receptive. Construct a simple scene that implies fulfillment. Maybe a friend congratulating you, or you writing the final line of a successful project. Repeat that scene in your mind until it feels real. Then drift into sleep carrying that feeling with you. This is what Goddard called sleeping in the state of the wish fulfilled. From that inner assumption, the outer world will reorganize itself. Events will align, opportunities will appear, and conditions will reshape themselves to reflect the state you now occupy. But Neville's teaching goes even deeper than personal transformation. He revealed something far more profound, that your destiny is not uncertain. It is already fulfilled. In the book of Romans, Paul lists a sequence: predestined, called, justified, glorified, all in the past tense, not will be, but has been. From the divine perspective, your transformation is already complete. You are simply living out in time what has already been finished in eternity. The kingdom of God, then, is not a reward you earn through moral effort. It is the inevitable awakening of every consciousness to its divine nature. Every soul, no matter how lost or limited, will return to the full remembrance of being God. You cannot fail to receive the kingdom, because the kingdom is not given to the worthy. It is given because it is God's pleasure to give Himself to you. Before you did anything right or wrong, before you were even born, that decision was made. Grace, therefore, is not God changing His mind about you. It is God never having changed His mind about you in the first place. You may occupy states of fear, guilt, or separation, but none of these can cancel the eternal decision of love. Your glorification, your complete awakening, is already written. It is as certain as sunrise. So, how does all of this operate in daily life? Through what Neville called the law of assumption. When you assume a state with conviction, when you inwardly feel it as real, the outer world must conform. It cannot do otherwise. The outer world is nothing but the shadow of your inner state. If you hold the state of being rejected, life mirrors rejection. If you hold the state of being loved, life mirrors love. If you hold the state of being secure and provided for, opportunities will flow in perfect harmony. This is not superstition. It is law. The state contains the means. You don't need to figure out how something will happen. The how belongs to the state itself. When you move into the state of abundance, abundance arranges itself. When you move into the state of health, the body responds. Your only task is to persist in the assumption, to remain faithful to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, even when outer appearances seem unchanged. It's like tuning a radio. Each station already exists, broadcasting its own reality. You don't create the music by tuning the dial, you simply align yourself with the frequency that was already there. In the same way, every reality exists now. You tune your consciousness to the one you wish to experience. Goddard's understanding of forgiveness is radical. He said, God forgives not because you deserve it, but because He knows who you truly are. When you acted in anger or fear, that wasn't your eternal self. It was simply a temporary state expressing itself through you. Just as no one arrests an actor for the crimes of his character, God does not condemn you for the states you've occupied. He sees only your true nature, the divine consciousness that entered and exited those roles. That is why divine forgiveness is total. It erases the record as if nothing ever happened. You are free, utterly, and forever free, to leave behind any state and move into another. There is no permanent stain, no eternal guilt, no lost cause. Every moment offers the opportunity to assume a new state of being. And when you look at others through this lens, something miraculous happens. You no longer see evil people. You see consciousness trapped in painful states. And instead of condemning them, you can use your imagination to lift them. You can see them healed, restored, renewed, and by that inner act, you contribute to their liberation. Neville described human life as a divine journey, a passage through many states of limitation, designed to awaken the imagination itself. First comes the state of innocence, before the fall into limitation. Then, the long passage through the furnace of experience, the joys, the losses, the fears, and the discoveries of being human. Finally, the awakening, the realization that you have always been God, dreaming you were a person. He called this the birth from above. It is not achieved by spiritual effort or ritual. It happens when the time of inner gestation is complete. Just as a child cannot force its birth, you cannot force your awakening. It unfolds in perfect timing. When it happens, you realize you were never separate from God at all. You are the divine consciousness that has always been both the dreamer and the dream. And once you awaken, you no longer strive to fix the world. You shine upon it. Like the sun, you simply radiate presence, and everything around you reorganizes toward perfection. Living consciously. Until that great awakening arrives, your task is simple. Live consciously. Recognize when you've entered an undesirable state, and move deliberately into a higher one. If you find yourself in worry, move into peace. If you find yourself in scarcity, move into gratitude. If you find yourself in judgment, move into understanding. And remember, movement between states happens in imagination first. You don't need outer evidence to begin. When the inner change is sustained, the outer change is inevitable. Neville offered a simple nightly practice called revision. Before sleep, review your day. If something unpleasant happened, reimagine it as you would have preferred it to be. See it ending in harmony. Feel the relief and satisfaction as if it truly occurred that way. Fall asleep in that feeling. By doing this, you are not denying reality. You are reshaping the state that produces your tomorrows. Persistence is key. Neville compared it to Jacob wrestling with the angel. I will not let you go until you bless me. Stay with the assumption until it blesses you, until it feels natural. Then the manifestation will come effortlessly. So, what does it all mean? It means that your journey is safe. No matter where you are, lost, confused, or doubting, you are still moving inevitably toward the same destination, the full remembrance of who you truly are. Every soul will awaken. Every consciousness will return home. The shepherd does not rest until every lost sheep is found. This understanding removes fear entirely. There is no eternal punishment, no failure, no exclusion. Only the play of consciousness, learning to know itself through experience. When you know this, you stop worrying about being good enough. You live from a quiet confidence, not arrogance, but peace. You begin to see others with compassion, knowing they too are on their way to remembrance. And as you practice consciously assuming higher states, you accelerate your own awakening. So we come back to the beginning, to the question, who are you? You are not the poor man or the rich man. You are not the sinner or the saint. You are not the seeker or even the awakened one. You are the eternal consciousness that moves through all these states, learning, experiencing, and ultimately remembering itself as the divine creator. The gift has already been given. The story has already been written, and its ending is glorious. When you truly understand this, fear dissolves. You no longer chase after manifestation as proof of worth. You live from the quiet knowing that you already are what you seek. So tonight, as you close your eyes, remember this. You are not the temporary state you occupy. You are the immortal consciousness that moves through states. And no matter what you have experienced, your destination is certain. The full realization that you have always been God, dreaming that you were human. And when that dream ends, you awaken to find that everything you ever loved was you. If this message resonates with you, let it sink in. Because sometimes, remembering who you are doesn't happen through effort. It happens through recognition. You are not becoming divine. You are remembering that you already are. Remember, you are not the state. You are the awareness behind it. Subscribe if you're ready to live from that truth, fully awake and consciously creating your world. Thanks for watching and for joining me. Take care and see you soon.